So I want you to sort of connect the dots on that. So what he's trying to say, I think, in clear terms is, as Jesus approaches Jerusalem, he's going to help define access to the kingdom and what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And he's going to eradicate some of the norms that people would make assumptions on and begin to redefine what it means and what it requires of someone to be a follower of Jesus. And it's easy to be a follower of Jesus at a safe distance. As you're going to Jerusalem, it's much more difficult. And again, Jericho is that sort of significant stop where you go on, and the next stop is Jerusalem, when everything begins to accelerate out of control. So it's this moment that he's setting up what's going to happen, but also setting up the way in which it's going to be measured and told by Luke in the final days of his life. So Jesus says, I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. That's one of the basic concepts in the Gospels. The accusation of his enemies is this man welcomes sinners, which always makes it problematic. So if you're a good religious leader, your way in which to connect with God is to live a righteous life. And all of a sudden, the one who begins to circulate rumors, not himself but other people talking about him, speculate that he might be the actual Messiah, the Son of God. So when, Roger, you asked about the Son of Abraham and the Son of God. So when he's saying the Son of Abraham, he'll say, you're a true son of Abraham, which means the people who call themselves the sons of Abraham, the modern day Pharisees, have lost their way, and they don't know it. But the original Abraham was the one who simply out of humility said, wherever you ask me to go, I'll go. And he was sent on a mission to go to a place that he didn't know existed and didn't know how to get there and didn't even see the culmination of his own work. He just went on trust that the one who called him would be there to guide him on his own journey as well. So the idea of true son of Abraham is to say, you're the one that understands what the original covenant was all about. It was based on not self-righteousness, but it was based on complete and utter humility and trust in God. Okay? So, the parable of the tax collector and the Pharisees, they're both polar opposites, and there are two ways of being religious. One is death-dealing, the other is life-giving. So, just prior to these two stories, I think it sets up, and I'm sort of fixated, so you got to forgive me. I sort of kind of want to keep starting at the end and working back. So if I'm out of sync with you, it's okay. Because in Luke 18, that's where this story is told. And then you read the story of Bartimaeus, and you read the story of Zacchaeus. So this is a well-known story, but I want to spend a little time on it. The religious expert was smuggling up. So you've got two people. They're about to walk into a temple, right? You remember how this is. If you know the story, I got to quit assuming that you do, because that's probably not really correct on my part. If you don't know the story, I'm glad you're here. Let's learn it together. Let's sort of figure out, take a second look at it. So he describes, and it is a parable about two people are in a temple, and one is a self-righteous Pharisee who offers those terrible words as, I thank God I'm not like other people. Thank God I'm not like that person. Boy, that's a pretty telling statement.
We're glad he's not like you either.
Yeah, exactly. Let's kind of dissect this, though, because I think it sets up the stage for what we just read. Religious expert was smug and confident. The outsider was anxious and insecure. Saint paraded to the temple. The sinner stood at a distance, meaning he could not even approach too close to the temple. Didn't feel himself worthy of that as well. Righteous man stood up. The sinful man looked down. I mean, boy, you just start looking at these details, and you could not find a greater contrast between one or the other. And he's using this in a very particular way. Pharisee prayed loudly, I love this quote, about himself. Tax collector could barely pray at all. Okay. So let's look at it. This is a quick little parable. Parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even this tax collector. Boy, that gets personal, doesn't it? We're going to do generality, but oh yeah, by the way, that guy right over there, you know? Okay? I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get. So this is easy to turn into sort of a comic strip and a caricature of people. But I think it really doesn't do justice to the story because, in a sense, this person has a grain of truth. I'm trying to be the best person I can be. I give, I go to church, I do all these, I go to the synagogue, I give, I tithe, I try to help, I do all these things. That's what I was taught to be. That's what marks a good human being. So it's not like he's this comical character, just oblivious. He doesn't get what Jesus wants him to see, okay? Because he's somehow become a little self-righteous, okay? But the tax collector stood at a distance for the contract. So you've got this person who thinks, and I've been guilty of using this term, and I really try to be conscious of it. If you look at somebody in a terrible position, you say, there but by the grace of God I go. And I used to say that, and then I've stopped, because that's not right. By the grace of God, we're upright. You know, at some point you can't say God spared me and just inflicted pain on somebody. It happens to all of us, and you know, thank God for God's grace, but it's not a comparison about, gosh, at least I'm not like that. Okay? And I think that's sort of a toxicity of religion that happens incrementally. Tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven. He beat his breast and said, God have mercy on me, a sinner. I mean, I just think this is so poignant. He stands, and he can't stand at the center of the temple. He just stands on the periphery, which is really a symbolic understanding that he doesn't feel like he belongs inside. He's not worthy of going there. And don't kid yourself. There are people, even in today, that don't feel like they're worthy to come into the church. And we got to keep telling them, boy, welcome to the house of sinners. Okay, you're just one of us, and we want you here and need you here. But don't ever underestimate the fact that we have a lot of folks who come and just don't feel like they've done things wrong, they've had regrets, they carry it with them, and they think that whatever they've done is either unforgivable, they can't forgive themselves, and they carry it with them, and the weight is palpable and it's heavy. Okay? I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted.